Okay, so in this demo, I'm going to go just a little bit deeper in terms of HTTP. There's a couple things with this controller, this API as it stands, that are sort of not very HTTP friendly. One thing is, although I didn't do this in the earlier demo, if I pass in a, make sure we built this, if I pass in a index that's not available, I'm going to get a 500, which makes sense. That's the way the code's written. So the code should be written in a much more robust way. I should say if at least data.count is greater than ID, then return ID. Otherwise, I should do something else. And what I really want to do is I really want to return a 404. Now, if I want to return a 404 sometimes and a message other times, what I can do is I can add an HTTP response message, go down the stack one level, and here I can say return request.createResponse, which is going to be a string. The status code is going to be OK, and then the value gets passed in as the second parameter to this extension method, and that creates a response for me. Otherwise, I'm going to say return request.createErrorResponse. Status code is going to be not found, and I'm going to say item not found. Okay. So now I've essentially, by adding this, again, slightly lower level construct in the web API, HTTP response message, I've got a lot more control over what the response headers are, what the status codes are, etc. And now if I go back over here, let's get rid of all those requests and go to the composer. And if I ask for 11, I get a 404, which is what I would expect if I was a API client, an HTTP API client. I would expect if I asked for a resource that wasn't there, I would get back a 404. It would be very informative for me. Now, if I ask for 1, I should still get back 1, which is good. Now, the other thing that I did before was I did a post. So I did a post to /values, and I said content type was application/JSON, and I said, basically new item. Okay. Now, when I did that, it worked. I didn't get any errors back, but the status code that came back was a 204 no content, which is okay, but again, not really in the spirit of HTTP. HTTP says if you add a new item, then the response should be 201. And so the 201 should have in its header the location of the newly created item. So again, I'm going to change the response here from void to HTTP response message. And then I'm going to say return. Actually, I'm going to have a variable here. Message equals quest.createResponse. And the status code is going to be HTTP status code.created. And I want to change one other thing on the message before I return it. I want to say message.headers.location. I want to set that to be a URI. So I'm going to say request.requestURI plus data.count to string. Return message. So again, what I'm doing here is I'm setting the location header. Location header should always be set when your status code is created, because the location should point to the newly created resource. These are just the rules of HTTP. So now if I go back and I go back to my composer, which already has my post saved, and I click execute, I get a 201. If I look at the headers, right, there is my API value /3. And if I click on it, it's going to give me a new one, right? I did that wrong, didn't I? I needed to do API values count -1. So there was a bug in my program. So count -1 to string. My apologies. Try that again. Let's clear those all off. Go to the composer. Go back to do a post to values. Content type. Application /JSON. And request body is new value. And I will execute. It's 201. And if I go to the raw headers, here's my new location. Let's just grab that inside of Fiddler. And so there is my new value. Okay, so that's just showing you how you can take the Web API and modify it to your particular needs.